Am I the asshole for making my son deal with rotting meat? I go hunting every year. I'm not a trophy hunter by any means. I do it for meat and almost purely for economic reasons at this point. Taking a few deer off my property once a year keeps my freezer stocked and the grocery bill way down, which is important because finances can be tight sometimes. As a little relevant background, the bulk of the meat is kept in a large freezer in the garage, and about once a week we pull out what we need for the week or so, which means the freezer is normally only opened about once a week. My son, who's 15, has decided that he is a vegetarian about 6 months ago, which my wife and I have no problems with. We started making meatless meals twice a week and made sure every other dinner was such that the meat was separate from everything else so he could still eat with us. This has been working great for the last 6 months with no complaints. However, last week when I pulled the meat for the week out of our freezer in the garage, he decided to come behind me and unplug the freezer. I guess he thought we weren't doing enough to support his cause. He never spoke to us or complained about our twice a week setup prior to unplugging the freezer. Well, as you can imagine, with a now unrefrigerated pile of meat in the summer heat, it didn't take long for the meat to start to rot and stink. The freezer kept the smell in for a while, so by the time we finally noticed, everything was completely putrid. I asked my son if he knew what happened, and he proudly said that he had unplugged it on purpose and now we would have to be meat-free as well. I told him that he didn't have the right to ruin a freezer full of meat and raise the family's grocery bill without discussing it with anyone. I told him that as part of his punishment, he had to clean up his mess, meaning he needed to dispose of all the rotting meat and either sufficiently clean and sanitize the freezer or purchase a new one out of his savings. He called me the asshole for making him interact with me in any way, shape, or form. But he made the mess and he needs to clean it up. So, am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for not letting my best friend have her wedding on my property after being uninvited? One of my best friends, Carla, 31 female, is getting married soon. It's only meant to be a small backyard type of wedding, but they've been planning it for a few months now, and originally it was supposed to be on my property. They wanted it because it's private, it has lots of open space for the reception, a nice view, and the house could be used for them to get ready and stuff. Of course I said yes. She and her fiance Rick were very happy. Thing is, Carla and I do have a history. We went out on and off in college, but decided to stay friends. Then I met my wife, we got married, Carla met Rick, and now here we are. Now my wife knows I went out with Carla back in college and she didn't care. Carla still went to our wedding and everything. I never knew if Rick was told or not. It's not my relationship, therefore not my business to say anything, so I never did. Rick found out recently and not in the best way. Not sure how, but from what I heard from Carla's friends is that one mutual friend told him, no idea why, we used to date. Not only that, but apparently Carla said a couple years ago she was still in love with me and she was already dating Rick. Don't have actual confirmation if that's exactly what he was told. All Carla's told me is that Rick was told about our past and he's angry at her for never saying anything. It became quite a drama and didn't hear from her for over a month until now. She told me they're going to a couples counseling and that the wedding is still on, but Rick requested that I not attend. It sucks, but I totally get why he wouldn't be comfortable. Then I asked the obvious question, where are they going to hold the wedding then? To my surprise, she said they still want it at our place. Rick said so too, and in my mind, I'm going, he doesn't want the guy who dated his fiance years ago at the wedding, but still wants the wedding at the guy's house. My wife and I are expected to just not be at our home that weekend, and I told Carla no. They're going to have to find someplace else since we're not going to simply leave our home to them for the weekend. Not only for safety reasons, but it just doesn't make sense. Rick doesn't want me around because he's not comfortable, but is comfortable enough to have their wedding at my house. They really want their wedding here though. And because of that, I've been bugged not only by her, but also Rick and some friends who think I'm being a petty asshole for not letting them have the wedding here anymore. Honestly, I don't think that I am. It just doesn't make sense to have to leave our own place for a wedding we're no longer welcome to and leaving our home totally vulnerable. Still, being accused of sabotaging their wedding, and Rick believes it's the least I can do after everything. Am I the asshole for ruining my sister's wedding? I, 24 female, was with my ex-fiance, 27, since I was 13 and he was 15. He was my first love, my first everything. We got engaged when I was 20, and about 6 months after, we found out we were expecting. Unfortunately, I miscarried a couple days later. That was the worst moment of our lives. We always dreamed about starting a family early, so this was a major blow to us individually and to our relationship. I fell into a deep depression, and I admit I was wrong for only caring for the loss I felt and not my partner's. We argued a lot. He partially blamed me, and I accused him of not knowing how it felt to lose a life you were growing inside you. We were hurting each other and decided to separate for a while. That while turned into a year. We still kept in contact. I went to therapy and worked on healing myself. He even came to a few sessions with me. We decided to get back together shortly after my 23rd birthday. However, the relationship wasn't the same. He was somewhat withdrawn from me, and I thought it was because he still blamed me. I was so sick, overthinking and worrying. It got to the point where I was going backwards in my process, so I decided to snoop through his phone. I found out during the year we separated, he had been confiding in my sister, who's 27, and it turned out to be something intimate. He cut it off when we got back together, but the damage was done. She was pregnant. Turns out my parents knew about this and some of our friends. I kicked him out and cut off everybody who knew. Well, a couple weeks ago, I got an invite to the wedding. Something snapped inside me. I got drunk and I took a cab to my parents' house where they were throwing a party for them. Most of my family was there. I basically showed up and gave a whole FU speech to everybody. My sister ran upstairs in tears, and my parents called me an a-hole for ruining the prospect of their wedding. I said good because nobody apologized to me. Everybody just kept saying we were separated. Things happen and people fall in love. I should be happy for them. The heart wants what it wants. The worst part is my sister told me maybe my baby died for a reason so she could get her happy ending. I'm regretting getting drunk now because I'm not a confrontational person, but I was so upset. Am I the asshole? After I posted this, my sister called me from an unknown number a couple minutes after. She asked, more demanded that I return the ring my fiance bought since it would be disrespectful to keep anything from him knowing they're starting a family. How immature of her.